Okay, so let's cover the concept of a patch panel today. Lab 7 is terminating a patch panel. Now, I can't show you all the possibilities of terminating patch panels, but I'm going to give you the basic idea, all right? And this is what we're going to do during this lab. All right, so let's get the idea of it. We have terminated Cat5e cable onto a Ethernet jack or RJ45 jack. So this is basically what we have done. Now, what's the what's the purpose of that? Just so we could do a lab and get a mark for it? No, that's not the idea of that. Well, actually, it is right now, but we're getting you ready to go and do some work in the field. So the idea of that is to terminate the cable on one jack, and then carry it over some distance. It could be in the wall, in the ceiling, whatnot, to some other place where the equipment is, and basically you're going to have some situation like this. So if you just have two of those, if you want to have one cable going from one place where your computer is or whatever the device, and then you're going to have another communication room or where your equipment is, then you can just do this, and you are basically you're having a happy situation, and everybody's happy. All right. So, but what happens if you're going to install something like that? That you're going to have a building in which there are a bunch of computer jacks or Ethernet ports all over the place, under desktops, in walls, in cubicles, whatnot. And let's say you have 200 of those to be installed over the building, and they're going to have to bring the other end of every wire to one common location where there's going to be all those 200 home running to the one spot. And then you're going to have to organize those cables in a certain way. So one way of doing it would be getting each situation like this. You're going to have a port all over the building somewhere, and then you're going to, on the other side, you're going to have the other ends gathered together, and you're going to have something like that. So this is how much space 3 of those get. You can get a multi-port faceplates that you can get 4 or 6 on one faceplate, but still that's not the way to go. All right. Basically, what we're going to try to accomplish is getting those jacks. I'm just going to remove them from the faceplates. Yeah. And we're going to have to get those jacks in some sort of a close proximity situation. Whoa! Where they're going to be beside each other. Okay. So when everything home runs, we're going to try to get those jacks so they are going to be looking something like this. All right. So now we're getting somewhere. Now we are saving space, and we can have idea that we can use in order to organize the wiring in some sort of a proper way that's going to be manageable for us. Well, what if we took all those jacks and put them in some sort of a frame? Well, here's the idea of a patch panel. Okay, the whole if you're intimidated by the word patch panel, that's basically what it is. And here we have patch panels like this. Let's get this one here first. All right, that's basically what it looks like. It's a bunch of jacks put together in a frame, and then on the other side you have the ports, just like you would have the port of a single jack, and on the other side you're going to have the termination point that you're going to connect those wires or those conductors right into that. Well, if you put all a bunch of them together, you flip them around, then you have each corresponding wiring port corresponds to whatever the jack is on the other side, and they are numbered on the other side here, that you can basically see that the part of the termination strip on the other side, part of the connector here, so this here corresponds to, let's say, okay, this one says jack 3. Okay, here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, well, how about 1, 2, 3, and 4? How about here? Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. How about here? 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so on. Okay, this panel has seen better days. That's why we have it here for demo purposes. This is the basic. This is the simplest one. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Flip it around. So this here, this blue, orange, green, brown pair here corresponds just as if you were having the blue, orange, green, brown connections right here. All right, so this part corresponds to this port right here. The next one here, second part, corresponds to this second port right here, okay, and so on. So so this is basically for saving space and getting to the situation that that the wiring and the cabling can be done in an organized and manageable way, so so you can make sense of it. All right, enough talk about that. Let's just get a little bit overview on what the about the patch panels here. So, little short slideshow. Okay, so patch panels, basic overview. All right, two basic kinds of patch panels. There's a loaded patch panel and unloaded patch panel. Let's take a look at loaded patch panel first. The loaded patch panel has all the ports. Is a faceplate here, all right, single rack unit faceplate, and it has the ports already in it as an integral part of the whole thing. Okay, and this is what it looks like on the other side. So here is the loaded example of a loaded patch panel, because it has a faceplate, okay? And well, this is not even Cat 5e, it's Cat 5, so that's an old one. So here's a faceplate here, and on the other side you can see that there are modules that that embed the all the connections that correspond to the ports. So the faceplate and all the wiring and all the ports, all the jacks are integral part of the whole thing. So this here is a loaded patch panel, as opposed to something that's called an unloaded patch panel right here. And an unloaded patch panel is a faceplate, an empty faceplate with pre-cut openings and different types of, so now it lets us to put different types of ports. Okay, what they write here, different types of ports can be used with one faceplate. All right, so now the possibilities are opening for us, because if you have just a faceplate with a bunch of pre-cut openings that you can insert those jacks, so you can put the category cables, like Ethernet cables there, and you can terminate them and you can snap them into those openings. You can put other types. The openings can be okay, so different types of ports can be. So for example, what if you want to have different type of port, like a coaxial cable? Well, there you go. There's a module here that can be snapped onto this opening here, no problem. All right. Now there are couplers. You can use couplers. So if you need to run some, if you need to couple cables, so if you have a terminated into RJ45 cable from one side, and you have terminated in another edge RJ45 on the other side, you can just butt them together through a coupler. Okay, so here's a coupler, and that can be snapped onto one of those openings. And if there is if there are any ports for the aesthetic purposes, if there are any ports that are unused, you can just blind them by using the blank inserts. Okay, so here's an example of a loaded patch panel, and here would be an example of an unloaded patch panel. And here are a couple of empty ports right here, couple of empty ports. because I just took them out. And this one here is just about to be inserted. So basically what you do, the difference in termination is that you're going to have to, with the loaded, you're going to have to run the cables in a certain way and just bring them to the insulation, to the IDC insulation displacement connections, terminate them, and sometimes you're going to have a support bar that goes on top that you can just zip tie those and mount them so the cables can go this way, or if you can't, you can just go and use those mounting, those zip tie mounts here in order to fasten the cables. So there are different ways, different personal touches that can be applied, or different depending on what job you do and who gives you the job to do. You might be asked to do this one way or another. Okay, and if you decide to, if you have a job of your own to do, then you can decide which way you are going to do this based on your personal type of a preference. Okay, so here is the loaded, and the unloaded. What you do is you terminate the jacks on a cable, and you get them to be certain length, and then you're going to insert those into the ports, and then you're going to mount that faceplate onto the rack location. Right? So that's the here's the example of a unloaded. See, here's an opening. Okay, here's an opening, and here is a jack that could be terminated with the cable on, and once you do that, you just snap that right on and it stays there. Right? So that's, and these are just the dust covers here that you can just prevent from any debris flying into it. All right, so two basic classifications for that would be loaded and unloaded. Okay. Now, what else do we have here? Now we classified the patch panels also in other different categories. It would be wall mounted, which is going to be what we're going to terminate during this lab. So this is the one here, and we have that. This is what you'll be working with. Is going to be this. It is a wall-mounted patch panel. Okay. Smaller version for smaller venues, smaller offices, smaller business type of scenario. You don't need to have a huge, because for this one here you need a rack. Okay, you need an equipment rack to mount. You need to have something to mount this on. But if you have a smaller sort of a situation with lesser of cables, then you can get one or two of those. You terminate the wires. Obviously, this one here looks like it's loaded patch panel. You terminate the wires onto the back of that, and you dress them up nicely. You get the bracket. You mount the bracket on a wall, and then once that bracket is mounted on the wall, then you can just snap those right in, and you have a patch panel. So from here, the wires go to the field, all right, and from here you can use patch cords, patch cables to patch that connection from whatever the computer is on the other side through this patch panel, and you make a connection onto the switch, router, modem, or whatnot, whatever needs to be plugged in. Yeah? All right, so here's the wall-mounted and rack-mounted. Now, you see this thing here? It's something that's called a support bar. It provides a strain relief for the cables. Ethernet cables are quite fragile when it comes to any sort of physical strain that is put on them, and if you pinch them or bend them too much, or if you put any kind of a pressure, physical pressure on Ethernet cables, you can actually alter the specifications of the cable. You can alter the bandwidth and alter the way this thing is able to convey the signal, and when you alter that, it's never for better, it's always for the worse. All right, so support bars are quite common, and it just makes things nicer and more manageable, and less susceptible to any kind of a physical damage that can be there. So now this here support bar, you can see, is placed at the front of the patch panel, but you also get the support bars that are placed at the back of the panel. So here is obviously, look at that. This is something that's called an unloaded patch panel, because you just terminate the cable onto the jack and you snap the jack into the opening, and then you can use the support bar to support the way of the cables, and now they are nice and easy and straight going into the ports, and there is no any physical strain that is put on them. Okay, so that's the support bars. Very, very common thing that is being used. All right, now racks, equipment racks, that's basically where the patch panels will be going, and other pieces of equipment will be going here as well. So here's a floor mounted rack, or you can have a wall mounted rack, and these come in different shapes and forms, but basically it's a floor or a wall mounted rack, equipment rack. Okay, now the installation basically looks like this. I just grabbed that thing from the internet. Here is reference for this picture. Before and after. You don't want your racks to look like this. The idea is so you use all your neatness skills in order to accomplish something that is manageable, looks nice, and first thing is that the operation of the equipment is not compromised for whatever reason, usually because of a mess, and also aesthetically looks much nicer, and that if you do a job for a client, it looks like this, not likely you're going to get a phone call to get another job for the same client, or you're not going to get a word of mouth reference from the same client to another's. They're not going to recommend you. If you do it like this, of course, there's a better chance of you. That's how you get the next job. All right. So this is as far as just a little bit of an overview on the patch panels. Patch panels category Cat 5E, Cat 6, Cat 6A, Cat 7, and whatnot. They are mostly using, if there's a punch down, you're going to use the 110 punch down head, and it looks like this. It's a stationary knife. All right, you can see that. Yeah, let me just get it in focus. As opposed to Bics punch down platform, that you have the knife that is not stationary. It's actually moving sideways to cut off the excess wiring. Okay, so this is what 110 head looks like. There's another punch down tool that I have here. This is the one that you want, looking like this, and basically the same thing. You can see the head is the same. All right, where's that? Here we are. Now these have seen better days, and all this sanitizing with a whole bunch of solutions, it kind of is beginning to take a toll on some of our equipment. This is what it looks like under a microscope, but don't worry, this thing is still good. It works fine. Right? So this is what we're going to do during this lab. We're going to terminate 4 cables onto the wall-mounted patch panel. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this thing out of the mounting bracket. We're going to lay it flat on our desk. Okay. Now sometimes what happens is that when you do that, you just flip this thing around and mount it backwards, just like that, and then you can do the punching. The problem with that is, maybe I'm going to be able to show you this. here, if I punch this thing too strong, here's what's going to happen. Did it happen? Yes, it did. Okay, because sometimes it's not really well thought of. See what happened here? This whole assembly just came out of the mounting bracket. All right, so mounting it backwards like that doesn't always work properly. Okay, so all I have to do now is just what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snap it back into place. Okay, so the best thing is just to lay it flat so you have something backing up the other side. Right. All right, so now over on this here wall-mounted patch panel, and again it is loaded. Right. So we're going to choose 4 ports. Now we're going to try to choose wisely, and what do I mean by that is these things are meant to basically be used once or twice and left it that way. Now we have these in a school setting that we have to replace them every so often because they're basically being terminated, unterminated, terminated, unterminated, and some of the ports are getting enough of usage. All right. All right. Now, so we're going to get 4 cables, and first thing we're going to do is we're going to strip a cable. Now, the way we strip the cable is, as we remember, there are scorers. There are gadgets that make this make the stripping of the cables for us much easier. But before we get to use them, I want you to be able to do everything with a pair of these, okay, the side cutters, because you always have them with you. Right? So we're just going to go about this much, about that much here. See, about 1 fist long, and we're going to basically nick it and remove the outer jacketing from those from the wires here. Now again, we're going to have a rip cord, so we're going to use that to basically peel the jacket off. Now, usually what you have to do is you're going to get a bunch of wires running. Let's say there is a field wiring going from all over the place. These are the wires are coming all to, from the different computers and so on. They are coming into one place, and usually in the communications room you're going to have the equipment rack somewhere on the wall. Let's say it's a wall equipment rack. So you're going to have let's say rack mounted patch panel, okay, with the ports in here, and you're going to have some sort of a proper way of dressing those wires. So usually it's coming from the ceiling, and they're all going to the ceiling space, and over here you're going to have a service loop. Now, yes, there are different schools that some people are going to tell you that always have a service loop. Basically what a service loop is, you just run extra one and just loop it around maybe once or twice, and then you run it right into the rack. That gives you the possibility of pulling extra slack if you need to troubleshoot, or something gets damaged, or you need to you're running out of length. You are going to be able to grab that from that service loop, which is basically right above the ceiling here, or maybe right above the rack, equipment rack, somewhere in the communications room. All right, now the other people are going to tell you that no, service loop is not good because it just adds the noise and so on. You know what, I have installed a lot of those, and I always run the service loop. I never had a problem with that. Okay, but there again, different schools are going to tell you different, as they say, different village, there's a different song. Anyways, so here you're going to have to kind of measure the length of that, so the wires are going to be nicely dressed in the equipment rack. Okay. So this is where the Sharpie comes in, okay, permanent marker. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a little mark on that, just a little mark. Okay. Do I need to show that? Here, I just made a mark on this, and this is how far I'm going to strip the wire. Okay. So let's get this wire stripped. Maybe we're going to use this camera here. Basically, I'm just going to pull on the ripcord. Yeah. And I'm going to pull it just so it gets to that mark that we just made. All right, focus. Let's get rid of those. And we're just going to use that ripcord, and I just want you to get into a habit of doing that. Okay, and this is as far as we're going to get. All right, then we're going to peel the wiring, peel the jacketing, sorry, and make a nice, beautiful, clean cut around that. You don't want any garbage to float around here. All that here, gone. All right. Now this here, at this place, we have a nice and clean bunch of wires here that are not touched by scoring process or whatnot. Now you're going to leave those. Of course, when we're doing the nicking of the wire, all these wires are damaged here, and usually we cut them off, but we can just leave them on because we will never get to that point. Yeah. All right, so we're going to do 4 of those, and just to speed things up, I already have done 4 of those. Okay. Now, as means of habit, I want you to do something like this. I want you to label those cables. So we're going to label this one as 1 or 0, 1. Okay. Let's say we're going to label this one as 0, 1. And I'm going to put 0, 1, dot. Okay, that means the number goes from here to there. If we didn't have the dot, this could be 10, but now we know that it's not 10 because it is 0, 1. And now we're going to go to the other end of this wire, and we're just going to mark it as 0, 1, dot. Okay, so now we have a wire. We have a wire that is labeled on both ends in the same way. All the other ones are going to be 02, 03, and 04. The idea is that over here we need to know which wire goes to which outlet, and all these wires are in one place, in the rack here, okay? But all these wires, they go all over the place. This could be 3 doors down the hallway. This could be somewhere in the ceiling. This could be, and then just make notes of which ones you put in where, because then you know that this is a desktop computer from office. Whatever the office is, this is a desktop computer from another office, and this number of this wire that goes here is the wireless access point that's in the ceiling, and so on. Now if you have 3 and if you lose count, you can quickly trace them, but if you have 200 of those or 600 of those, if you don't label them both at both ends, then you can get yourself into a trouble, and that's going to be not a couple hours for you to sort this out. It's going to be much longer. You're talking sometimes days. Right? Now, so let's just quickly label those wires here. So 01, 02, dot. Okay, and then you label the same thing on the other end. Then 03, dot. Okay. And 04, dot. And then so we have the wires labeled, and we're going to label them at the other end, but not going to do it now. You're just going to have to do it in class. Right? because when just before you cut those wires to length, you're going to have those wires laying on the floor, and they're going to be different lengths. If you have 100 or 200 or 300 of those wires, they're going to be just all over the place on the floor. So you're going to have to find them, which one is 1, which one is 7, which one is whatnot. And then you're going to get that number, and you're going to transfer that number right to where the termination is going to be, so you still know which wire is which. Now I'm showing you, and I can see some people on YouTube or internet are going to start screaming at me, oh, you know, you're using the Sharpie to label, we don't do that anymore. Yeah, sometimes we do, okay? But yes, there are, if you want to do it properly in the industrial way, there are label printers that basically print something that's called a wraparound label, and you can just print the whole designation of the wire according to the instructions that you're given, and you just put that and wrap it around and just stick it on. Yes, that's the proper way of doing it. What I want you to get into a habit of, I want you to get the understanding of the importance of labeling. So now we're using the Sharpie here. Okay. And sometimes you start with the Sharpie and then you do the wraparound label anyways. Okay, so that's that. All right, now let's get some termination going on. Okay, now we're going to choose some ports that are going to look good for us. All right, now you can go when you're terminating this wall mount, you can bring the wires from the top, or you can bring the wires from the bottom. Doesn't matter, okay? You decide which way you want to do. Okay. So let's say we're going to do this thing, and this thing is without the support bar. We're doing it without the support bar. This is just 12 port, and we're going to terminate 4 wires onto that. Okay, so let me just get a better position here. Let's say we're going to choose ports 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's fine. Okay, so here's port 7, 8, 9, and 10. They correspond to the ports 7, 8, 9, and 10 on the other side, just like we were terminating the jacks on their lonesome. Okay, now we're going to do it in this way, so all the wires are going to come this way here, and they're just going to be positioned in a way that is manageable. What do I mean by saying that? Okay, let's get the first wire. Let's just put that thing over here. Let's get the first wire terminated. I'm going to change my glasses so I can see better. All right, so here is port 7, and of course you're going to see here, as my little pointing device, you're going to see this T568A or T568B. So here is the color scheme for each of those ports, and here A or B. Okay, so if you want to terminate this thing in A, you're going to go blue, green, orange, and brown. So you're going to see, you're going to go blue, green, orange, and brown. If you want to terminate it in the B configuration, you're going to use the blue, orange, green, and brown. All right, let's you know what, let's do this thing in A configuration. A. All right, so what do we say, 7, 8, 9, 10? All right, that's fine. So port 7, I'm going to lay this jacketing somewhere here in the middle. So this cutoff jacketing here is just before that port begins. This is the termination strip for that port 7 here, okay? And then I'm just going to lay it this way. And the termination, again, we're going to check the termination here. the stripes, all the stripes are on the left and all the solids are on the right. We gotta confirm that because sometimes, depending on who makes this patch panel or the jack, sometimes they switch things around. It's not constant all the way through. So confirm everything and double check. Right? And what we're going to do is first, remember we gotta keep the twist. So blue goes first. All right, so we're just going to hold it with our fingers here, and we're going to go like this. And of course, the solid goes to the right and the stripe goes to the left. So I'm just going to put it just like that here, okay? And I'm going to squeeze it with my finger and undo just that. So if I squeeze it with my finger here, I'm using that little slot here to hold the wires. So if I hold it here, if I undo that, these are going to be untwisted from here on, but they're going to be, the twist is going to be kept from here on, okay? The other way. So now let's say, okay, are we able to do that? This is too much of an untwist for my liking, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little extra twist here, just so we get the blue and white blue in the right order. Okay, so now we have the twist going right to the punch, and all we're going to do is just going to precede them a little bit, just kind of push them a little bit so they stay. Right? What's next? Orange. Okay, here's orange, and we're just going to go like this. Okay, so this lays down nice and flat on this backing here. All right. All right, so here I'm just going to go that way and turn. All right, so of course we're going to have this almost lays out for itself, but maybe not. Here, undo a little bit here. Is that going to be fine? Yes, it's going to be just fine. So here, you notice you don't have to untwist the whole thing. You just have to get enough gap. All right, precede that, push that in just a little bit. All right, next is going to be green. Let me just grab it. And same thing here. Nice and easy. Those wires have to be sitting there nice and comfortable without any strain. See that? All right. So now the green here. Can we do this? Oh, it's almost. I'm just going to squeeze it here and just undo it that way. And we almost got it. Oh, we have to just pry it open and push it in. All right. Here. Okay, and then we're going to do the last one, the brown. See here what's happening? Those wires are nice and easy there. There's no strain. Of course, the white has to be on the other side. All right, and the twist is going right to the punch. See that? Right. Okay, so here's that one. Here's number 7. Number 1 goes to port 7, our wire. Now let's get on the other wire. They're all over the floor. This is number 4. Let's get number 2. Find number 2. Here is number 2. Okay, stay there, guys. All right. So now we're going to equalize those jacketings right here. Neatness is extremely important when doing data wires. Right? And we're going to do the same thing with that. So first is the blue. And now we're going to do this one this way here. Here's the blue, and of course the whites go that way. So can we do it this way? I'm going to kind of twist it extra and untwist it on this side here. It doesn't cooperate. Here, got it. No, we didn't get it. Here. Right. Now these jacketings are nicely together, and we have a wire that's going to sit in a second nice and comfortably here. Right. That's good. We're almost ready to punch these two. Now blue, orange. Come on. Don't pull on me here. All right. Now they're going to do the orange. It's going to go here. See, I just squeezed that and I'm undoing that, so the twist is kept underneath my finger there. And just enough to have enough gap. And just push that in with your fingernails a little bit. Like blue, orange, green. Here, it goes into this slot. And this is it's almost aligned itself for us. See that? So all I have to do is squeeze here and just undo one of those. And the twist is kept here. Get the gap going. Maybe just position a little bit this way so they are nicer. Push it in. And the last one is the brown. Get an extra twist in here. All right, so that should do that. Okay, and here, so now we are ready to do the punch. And we're just going to make sure that everything is sitting in where it should be. Straighten those out a little bit. Okay, and do the punch. Right, this thing just came out. See that? Here's the isolation displacement punch. And here's another one. Do this thing so it's nice. Don't do it this way, don't do it that way. Focus. You have to make sure that this punch tool is aligned nice and straight in line. If you do it that way or that way, there's a chance that you're going to damage this plastic lining here. Right? Okay, and when you do it that way, also try to do it straight. If you need, you can slightly push it forward, but not too much, but also has to be done straight this way and straight that way. Yep. Now here is the other side of the rainbow. Here. And I'm just trying to work the camera angles here. Here. I'm holding that. When I'm holding this, we're not getting proper punches, so I'm just going to here. Second one. Here's the third one. Okay, stay there. And this thing came out, so we're just going to reseed that. Yeah, see that? Okay, so this is these two done. Okay, now 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, now I'm just going to push them aside here. Okay, because usually if I go this way, I'm going to put those here, so I should have done this. So you know what, instead of doing 7 and 10, in this case I'm just going to go 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, change my mind with these 4 wires. I can afford that. All right, so here's 1 and 2, and 3 and 4 are going to be here. If you want to do that, so now we're going to lay those wires this way here. So this wire goes right in front of here, and we're going to do the same thing. So this jacket thing is basically just before it begins, just like that one here. Yeah. Now, we can do it this way, or we can, if you're troubleshooting, so maybe I'm glad I made this mistake here, because, well, you know what, I've changed my mind back. We're going to do it this way. So I'm going to just lay this one here, because that's what you would do if you want to add one more wire that is this side. This will be easy, no problem, right? But what do you do here? Well, you put this thing underneath that, so here's 3 and 4, so 5 and 6. So we're just going to lay those wires right here, just before that one begins. And the same thing. I'm not sure if I'm going to speed up this video or not. Here's the blue, right? And here, hold it. Maybe I'm not going to speed up it so you can see the whole process. Here, okay. Stay there. Then I'm going to help with my finger here, and then just go that way, right? So there's no strain on the wires. Put it here, undo a little bit, see what happens. Yeah, we can do it this way. Here, okay. And it's funny because I'm looking at the camera, I'm trying to get my bearings on this thing. Orange, here's green, okay, so that way. Now this one we're going to have to get a little bit of extra twist, because if we untwist it, we're going to lose the twist too much towards the other end. So here's the green. Can we do it this way? I don't like it. Okay, actually, you know what? Here, that's going to work. Just undo it this way here. And give it a bit of extra twist. That way, you're going to work your fingers. Your fingers are going to hurt. Yeah. Okay, push that in. Oh, wrong port. I mean, the right port, but the wrong slot. Okay. So we're going to have to, that way. Just so we can keep the twist. It's worth it to spend extra couple seconds in order to do the punch properly. All right, so we have that. Now let's get this brown one here. All right, what can we do with this? Here, an extra twist. More twist here. Can we do this? See, it goes backwards, so we need to make sure that we just have to flip them around. Sit them in. All right, so these two wires that we did first on top here, and these two wires we're going to go that way, and later on we're just going to bound them together. So 3, and there's this last one. Which way we're going to do? Same thing, we're just going to align these jacketings here, because see here, that way. And this is 3 and 4, and we're going to use this board. This is number 10, which corresponds to number 10 right here. Okay, so here again, blue, orange, green, brown. Here, blue. Try not to have them tangled around each other. See, I take extra care doing this. So blue, this is almost, yeah, we can just flip it this way here. Almost lining itself up. Put it in, spread them apart, and just push that in right there. Okay, okay, that's pretty good. This way, blue, orange. Here, can we do that? And see what happens. Here, that's gonna work nice. I'm looking at the camera here. All right. And here is, see, don't try to make it like that. Do it like this, so there's no strain on those. Now here, can gently do it. That's okay, that's fine. The twist is still far enough here. Right to the punch. We don't want to lose twist. You lose twist, you lose bandwidth, basically. You lose the specs. All right, so here, now this is almost lined up, and there's no strain relief. I'm just gonna go that way, and spread them apart a little bit, and push that in, and all we have to do now is do the punching. Can we see this on the camera or not? Yes, I think we can. Yeah. The knife. All right, here's the knife. It has to be cutting things off, so we're cutting these wires off. And with this one here, you let the spring-loaded action. Remember when we did the bigs, and we really really hard to punch that with the bigs. This one here, you let the spring-loaded action to provide the force of the punch. Yeah, so this is nice and done, and then we're just going to do this part here. Right, just like that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8. I do some double punches. Okay. This knife is getting a little bit dull, I suppose. See, if that's the case, I'm just going to if the knife hasn't reached the cable to the conductor to be cut, I'm just going to slightly push it forward. Not too much. Okay. Not too much. This one is good. All right, so we have ended up with 2 wires like that and 2 wires like that. See, those jacketings are nicely lined up together, and then here is nicely lined up together. Everything, just go once over to see if we have missed nothing, jumped, nothing reversed on us. Now all the stripes are to the left and all the solids are to the right. So now we're just going to, let's say we're going to cut this thing to about this length right here, right? Somewhere here. But now this is just for the lab purposes. So we're going to have to transfer the numbers from the back to here, or from here to here, because we want to have the numbers on both ends of the cables. Right? So that's going to be easy, right? Of course it's going to be easy. Everything is easy if you know how to do it. All right, so let's say this one was 1, so we're going to get that and go 0, 1, dot. All right, this one was 2, so we're just going to go 0, 2, dot. Always have the dots. This one is number 3, so over here we're going to have 0, 3, dot, and this one is 0, 4, dot. Okay. Now, why am I doing this thing? This is just for us to get the idea that the cables have to be labeled at both ends. This one here is going to be somewhere further down the road, wherever the outlet is. Okay? But I want to see 2 numbers because I need you to understand and get into a habit of labeling cables at both ends. Okay. So now we're just going to cut these off just so we can have like a demonstrative type of a piece. Oh, let me just here. So I'm just going to cut them off because this is our lab that we're doing. Okay. We are demonstrating that we know how to terminate a patch panel. Right. Not done yet, almost there. So I'm just going to grab zip tie. And yes, Cat 5e, you can still use zip ties if you know what you're doing. Right. What do I mean by that? Normally, if you have the more sophisticated, the more current versions of Cat 6, you will never use the zip ties. All right. Cat 5e you can still use, providing that you don't squeeze it too hard. And some people even are going to say even don't use that in Cat 5e. All right. So you decide as you go along. If your boss tells you don't use zip ties, we use Velcro, use Velcro. Okay, boss is the one who's signing your check. All right, so here's that hole there. Okay, and we're just going to push that zip tie right through that hole there here. And before here, zip tie goes through the loop. It's going to bring that headpiece here and slowly going to start zipping it. Now we're going to make sure that those wires are not tangled like that or any way. So we need to see one straight, beautiful alignment here of the wires. And then gently we're going to gently squeeze that. Okay. Now if you have more of those, they're going to line themselves up. So now here, one last thing, always trim the zip tie. And this is what we're going to do as far as the termination. So I chose these 4 ports. You can choose these 4 ports, or these 4 ports, or these 2 and these 2, and you can bring the wires from here, or you can bring the wires from there. You decide. Okay? So you're going to take a picture just like this here. Yeah. And you're going to, of course, make a table. And I want to see that the wires are nicely aligned here. I should be able to follow every wire with my eyes just by looking at it. And I want to see that the numbers are here, and the other side is also labeled with the numbers. So here is the first picture. Just like that, you're going to have a table going on like that. Then you're going to label this thing as what was the last one with Bix frame. Now we're going to label this thing not because it's not Bix frame. We're going to have patch panel rear, okay, as the back, okay. And then you are going to put that into the bracket, yeah, just like that. Snap it on so you get the feel of how it's done. And again, I want to see the, here's my microscope here. I want to see the wires that are coming out here. And this is going to be the patch panel front. Right? So this is basically what we're going to do when it comes to terminating the patch panel. This is one of the ways of terminating the patch panel. Now, when you get your first job, if you go into this field, when you get your first job, you're not going to be terminating the patch panels right away, but you get the feel of this thing. You can go to some electrical supply store, you can buy a patch panel, or you can buy from one of the distributors, or you can just buy it from any communication company. They will actually sell them to you too. And you can get some scrap pieces of a wire. You can practice on your own at home. You can get some old patch panels when some from some construction. If you know somebody who works in the field, that sometimes they are retrofitting or changing things around, ripping out the old equipment because it's obsolete anymore, just like these two. All right, and then. But you can still clean it up, get those wires out, and you can still practice the punch down and practice arranging the wires. Right? So there you go. That is the termination of the patch panel. How long did it take? I don't even know. I can't even see the time here. 58 minutes. Oh my God, almost 1 hour. All right, guys. So here it is, patch panel termination.